Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got another romance book recommendations video. It's all about one of my favorite tropes, the fake dating trope. So this can include fake boyfriends or girlfriends, or even sometimes fake engagements like fake fiancés. So here are some of my favorite books where the main characters first start off their romances by pretending to be together at first. This first book is a new release that just came out this week, and it was the book that actually pushed me to make this fake dating list. It's The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which was the perfect fake dating romance with a grumpy hero and a sunshine heroine. He pretty much hates everyone but her, and he's only sought for her. So it's a romance set in academia and in STEM and the sciences, and it's the kind of romance where the hero has had a crush on the heroine for years, and it's so freaking cute. Also, apparently this book originated as a Reylo fanfic. I had no idea until I'd actually finished the book, but it started as Star Wars Reylo fanfic. So of course this book has fake dating. The meet cute is so adorable. Technically it's their second meet cute, but I love the setup. Olive, the heroine, who is a PhD candidate at Stanford, she sees her best friend and immediately asks to kiss the first guy that she sees so that her best friend can see her kissing someone and realize that Olive has finally moved past her previous relationship. And it turns out the random man that she asked to kiss and that she actually kissed is none other than Professor Adam Carlson. Adam is one of Stanford's top professors, and he's also the meanest professor. Everyone hates him because his classes and his critiques are the hardest, and Adam kind of hates everyone as well, all except for one woman. After their first kiss, everyone hears about it, and now they think that Olive and Adam are together. Luckily though, Adam is not actually technically Olive's professor, so it's kind of fine for them to start up a relationship, but they do continue to pretend to be in a relationship so that Olive can prove to her best friend that she's not hung up on her ex, and Adam also needs to prove to these people in charge of his grant that he is not the asshole that everyone thinks he is. This was such a fantastic debut. The writing is fresh and fun, the romance is the sweetest, and there's so much good chemistry between Adam and Olive, and I also love the whole cast of characters as well. Adam and Olive are just so dorky and awkward and endearing. I love them so much. This book is easily a new favorite of 2021 for me. Next on this list is another fairly popular book from this year. It is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. Elena is an Instagrammer, a bookstagrammer, and when she reached out to me earlier this year to ask me to give this book a try, give her debut a try, and I saw that it had fake dating, enemies to lovers, office romance, I knew I had to read it, and I ended up loving it so much. It's another debut from this year that I loved. It's got some delicious slow burn, lots of Mariana Zapata vibes. So our main characters, Lena and Aaron, both work at the same company, and they do not get along. They don't like each other, and they get on each other's nerves, so it's very surprising when Lena is talking to her friend at work about needing a date to her sister's wedding to Lena's ex. Aaron offers to be Lena's fake date. I love these two so freaking much. The wit and the banter between them, the chemistry between them was on fire. It is slow burn, and I love the slow progression of them slowly becoming friends at first, since they're kind of forced to get to know each other better in order to pass off as a fake couple while they're in Spain for Lena's sister's wedding. The romance is so good. Lena is pretty much the only one that Aaron is soft with. It's pretty obvious to the reader that Aaron has some really big feelings for Lena, but Lena is oblivious about all of it for most of the book. The way Aaron is so tender with Lena, all these little moments that show how much he cares for her, they all killed me. And even though this is slow burn, thankfully Elena does not hold back on the steam. It is very hot, but of course it does take a while to get there. It was just a romance with so many great tropes. It was trope-tastic. There's enemies to lovers, office romance, fake dating, there's only one bed, there's slow burn, and it's all set in this gorgeous setting of Spain. I have to include this iconic new adult indie romance. It is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I'm not sure who has not read this one yet, but I'm just gonna include it anyway just in case, because it is really one of my all-time favorite books, part of one of my favorite series. It's the first book, the first standalone in the Off-Campus series. It's a new adult college sports romance. It's got a hockey player hero who needs help with his classes and his GPA. Garrett and Hannah make a deal with each other that if Hannah helps Garrett, tutors Garrett, and helps him raise his GPA, then he'll help her with elevating her social status at college and also making her crush jealous. So he pretends to show interest in her, pretends to start to date her in order to help her with all of that, and of course they end up falling for each other for real. It's a classic shy, smart girl meets popular, hot, jock boy, but it's told in such a fun and unique way. One of my favorite things about Elle Kennedy's books is her dialogue. Her characters are so freaking funny and entertaining together, especially when Garrett and his friends are all together. The way that her characters interact, not just the main characters, but the side characters as well, it's so funny, hilarious, and just so real. The Deal is such a fun fake dating romance, and I just love Elle Kennedy's new adult romances in general. Next on my list, I actually have two Talia Hibbert books. She has two fake dating romances that I've read and loved. This first one is her more popular one. It is Take a Hint, Danny Brown, which is book 2 in her Brown Sister series, but reads fine as a standalone. It's a friends to lovers romance between a PhD student and a rugby player turned security guard who works at the same building where the heroine teaches. Danny and Zaph's romance is so freaking sweet. It's very much a rom-com. It's witty and quirky and funny. There is plenty of steam as well since it is Talia Hibbert. It's really entertaining, especially since you know that Zaph is totally into Danny. Like, he has this big, humongous crush on her, but Danny is a kind of character who is allergic to relationships. They end up pretending to date after they go viral in this video because it gives a lot of publicity, this good publicity, to Zaph's sports charity. This book has a lot of longing and pining, especially on Zaph's side, but it's nothing too angsty or emotional because it is a rom-com. It was so great, and I loved that Zaph is an actual romance reader, like the epilogue with the romance books thing, and that was the cutest thing. The other Talia Hibbert book is called That Kind of Guy, which is book 3, the third standalone in her Ravenswood series. This was actually my first Talia Hibbert book, and it made me such a big fan after I first read it. It's an age gap romance with an older heroine and a younger hero, which I do love, but I just don't read quite as much as the other way around. It's another friends to lovers romance. We've got Ray, who is a divorced 40-something-year-old. She needs a date to this award ceremony where her ex is showing up with his own date, and her friend Zach, who is 12 years younger than her, he steps in and offers to be her date for that night. Zach was a really interesting character. He was known as the town man whore, but he slowly realized that he's actually demisexual, so he's dealing with this newfound realization about himself while also falling for Ray. Zach is a total cinnamon roll. He's a sweetheart, and I just really liked the way that Zach and Ray were with each other. It's definitely a more emotional romance than Talia Hibbert's other Brown Sister series. That Kind of Guy is a very different vibe from that series, but if you love books with lots of feels, you definitely need to read this one. I'm also recommending two books in the dating series by Monica Murphy. Both of them do have the fake dating trope in them, and I had a lot of fun with these books. I know the ratings on Goodreads aren't exactly the best, but I really like them. I think as long as you go into them knowing that they're fluffy, silly fun, that it should work. I listened to both of them in audio. Book 1 is Save the Date. We have two former childhood friends slash crushes. He was her brother's best friend growing up. Caroline and Alex reunite many years later when Alex is about to get married, and he hires Caroline as their stationary person. Alex's fiance is unfortunately kind of a bridezilla, and it gets worse when Caroline catches that fiance cheating on Alex. So now Caroline is freaking out about what to do, how she should tell Alex, if she should even tell Alex at all. But she does eventually, and things go a little bit haywire. Alex then asks Caroline to pretend to be his fiance while on a business trip to Paris. So they pretend pretend to be engaged in Paris, in the most romantic city in the world, and it is very, very swoon-worthy. Like, the combination of being in this romantic city, being with the first guy that you ever kissed, who is now this really rich and hot man who apparently loves to spoil you, it definitely can sweep you off your feet. I just really like these two together. It does get a little bit over the top with the former fiance plot. I just loved that Alex did everything he can to make Caroline happy. Book 2 is another rich hero kind of romance. This hero is a billionaire, and he is also slightly obsessed with our heroine. Sarah works at a lingerie shop, and Jared goes in anytime she's working, and he buys stuff from her. She does think that all the lingerie that he buys is for his countless women, but honestly, there's just one woman on his mind lately. He ends up keeping the lingerie. He doesn't give it to anyone. He just wants to buy things from Sarah and talk to her. Jared does finally up his game and tries to ask Sarah out in this super arrogant and high-handed way by trying to buy lingerie for her. So he buys her gifts from the store that she kind of tries to refuse but also kind of loves, and he does eventually make her an offer that she can't refuse since she's the sole breadwinner for her family. So she ends up going with him to San Francisco to his brother's engagement party and pretends to be his girlfriend. I will say this book does start off a bit rocky unless you love your asshole heroes from the start, but Jared is a huge jerk. He doesn't really care about anyone. He's really rude to everyone, including the heroine. So he's super cold and arrogant, but you see like throughout the book that his romance with Sarah does soften him up. He starts to care for her and care about, you know, the way that he acts with other people, and I really like that Sarah took none of his shit. So his character development was really great for me. Like, this rich, arrogant man just gets knocked off his pedestal. He's still really dumb at times, but overall this was a really cute romance. Next on my list is Hate Crush by Angelina M. Lopez. If you follow me, you probably know how much I've been enjoying Angelina M. Lopez's books and this Filthy Rich series. Hate Crush is book 2 in the series, but reads fine as a standalone. It's a second chance fake dating romance with a ton of angst. The whole series is really angsty and emotional, which is perfect for me. And of course, they are all very steamy. Hate Crush is about the sister of the family, the princess of this principality in Spain. Sophia used to be this wild child a decade ago, and she fell in love with this bad boy who ended up breaking her heart in order to become a rock star. Now, 10 years later, she's all grown up and taken charge of their family's winery, and Aish, our hero, is this famous rock star who has never stopped thinking about the love of his life who he left. And Aish also gets his chance to earn Sophia's forgiveness, earn back her love by agreeing to fake date her in order to boost publicity for her winery. It's a fake dating publicity stunt that Sophia is not happy about, but Aish does do his best to grovel and try to make things right. I honestly just loved how he was in agony like almost the entire book. I mean, he definitely deserved to be tortured like that, but it was just the perfect kind of second chance romance with angst and emotions and heartbreak that I really loved. I've got a fake dating novella romance as well. If you're looking for something short and quick with lots of sexual tension, 30 Day Boyfriend by Whitney G is perfect. It's an office romance between an asshole Wall Street boss and his executive assistant. Unfortunately, Emily has had enough of Nicholas and is trying to leave her job. He ends up offering her a proposition. If she can pretend for 30 days to be his fake fiance, then he'll let her go and offer her a generous severance pay. He needs a fake fiance mainly because he needs to show people that he can be a family man and not like an asshole Wall Street kind of guy. There's lots of banter and chemistry between these two, but again, it is a novella. It's like barely over 100 pages. It's super light and a little over the top, which if you've read Whitney G before, you'll probably know. It does follow a similar formula to her other novellas, but it is still really fun, and these kind of stories, these kinds of novellas are like catnip for me. This final book on this list is an oldie but a goodie. It is A Lot Like Love by Julie James. I used to be obsessed with Julie James when I first started reading romance. Like, I would go to my local library, head to her section, and try to read every single one that my library had. I love them all, and this one is one of my favorites from her. It's a standalone. Book 2 debut in her FBI/US attorney series. The heroine Jordan is the daughter of a billionaire and the FBI needs her help with an investigation. They agreed to release her brother from prison if she takes an FBI agent with her as her date to this charity, to this fundraiser that this money launderer is in charge of. So Nick, our hero, is one of the top undercover agents in the FBI and he becomes Jordan's fake date. They don't actually quite get along. There's lots of witty banter, lots of sarcasm between them, which was really fun to read. Then the investigation ends up being compromised and Nick and Jordan have to continue to pretend to date for more than just that one fundraiser night. Luckily, there's still a lot of good chemistry between Nick and Jordan, so it's fairly easy to pass this off. So if you love FBI romances or romantic suspenses, books with some action involved, but you also want some fake dating, you need to read this book. So that's it for some fake dating romances, fake relationship romances from me. If you have your own recommendations for this trope, please feel free to share them. And if you have any suggestions for like another trope that you want me to recommend books for, let me know that too. As always, links to all the books will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all next time. Bye!